Thank you everybody for taking the time today. My name is Richard Narine, and the second topic for today is about the needed skills to access jobs in STEM. Or as I like to say, it's called preparing for the future, because that's actually what you'll be doing with your students as they move forward for a career in STEM. A short background about myself. I'm working with a company called Randstad, where I lead our global IT industry. And that's really about connecting students or educated employees in IT to those companies who are currently seeking the right skill sets for the various jobs they've got. Myself, I'm a student of information systems, and just to share a small story about that as well, the job that I have today is fundamentally different to what I actually studied when I took on computer sciences and information systems. So we'll come back to that, as you may be wondering how that's relevant a little bit later on in today. To carry on, what we're all about and what you should be able to take out from this module that I'm speaking about is all about encouraging your students to actively look forward into the future. So what does that actually mean to you? So encouraging you to go beyond the traditional way of your STEM courses. So when you're studying within STEM, you would take a course that's going to last for potentially a number of years. And the skills that you're going to be utilizing for applying for a job in the STEM industry are going to need to be extended on top of that. So there are two key questions that when you're with your classroom, you need to start stimulating their minds at a very early stage, and that's already preparing them for work. So the first question is, how are you going to be finding the right job and the right company for your STEM skills? And the second question, slightly more challenging, is to turn that around. How's the right job and the right company going to find you? My colleague Yap already mentioned earlier that we no longer live in a world where a job is for life, but your career is for life, and we're going to be talking about that now. So many of students are active on social networking. I think it's quite common in the STEM environment to engage on a virtual network together to collaborate. Maybe many of you have heard of the website LinkedIn, and the reason why I'm informing of you about this right now is because that's a great way, if you've got a STEM background, potentially if you're looking at some of the slides that are accompanying this module, you'll see a picture of Richard Branson. And he's a well-known entrepreneur. And Richard Branson is very much about promoting a dream career. And in fact, you can see the video that's accompanying with Richard Branson is a movie that Randstad has shot. And it's interviewing 3 people, real jobs, real professional careers. And in there you can learn such valuable lessons into how their career started off, the good things, the bad things, and what are they actually doing now. And the message to take out from that is that the skills that you learn in the classroom are actually the foundation of the skills that you're going to be needing to take with you on a journey that is your career. So when you look at the career, the information that would be shared with you in the format of the presentation, you can also see there is valuable information on the theme of how I became or how I become. And this is also enforcing the messages that Richard Branson is so actively promoting via LinkedIn, and to encourage people to take on professional jobs and start to enhance their skills. So when you look at these messages, again, these are real people with real jobs and backgrounds. And what we've done as Randstad is we focused specifically on interviewing these people, where they started off, what were the essential skills that they've grown, and how did those skills develop over the course of their career. And it's wonderful. You can see there are valuable insights from IT, professional programmers, project managers, actually all the way through to HR professionals who manage large companies. And you can see a career these days, it's not just about applying for the job. Of course, you're going to need the essential skills to apply for a professional job, but it's also about you as an individual. Who are you? What are your core strengths? How do you communicate? Do you have a vision for where you want to be after you've completed your studies? And as a teacher, you're very much responsible for motivating those emotions in the classroom. And this is something that's so very powerful for you. We've got what's called a heartbeat moment. Sounds a little bit strange, but every one of us, we've got a heart inside that's pumping at I don't know how many beats per minute. But when you look at that in terms of the skills and the careers that you need in STEM, one of the first thoughts and questions that you're going to be asking is, I've spent a lot of valuable time educating myself. Where am I going to get my first job? And that's the first step of your heartbeat moment. After that first heartbeat, you then start to go into maybe a phase of exploration. For some people that's good, for some people that's not so good, because now you're competing with potentially a few other people, let's say 1,000 other people in the same industry, fighting quite literally or competing and branding yourself for that job. So how are you going to do that? And that's where you start to maybe feel things like a little bit disappointed, and you wish maybe you'd studied harder, paid attention in those lectures. So those are the things to start reassuring the students about. So that's where as Randstad we can already match the skills that you currently have and the skills that you're going to be needing in the future. And that's done by looking at the jobs, the employer, your potential boss or manager in the process. But coming back to this heartbeat moment, follow the thinking. After you've graduated, you start to build up a different set of skill set. You're immersed in potentially a commercial world, or you're immersed in potentially a further world of education, where you can then take your expertise and teach them to others. But either way, it's a different experience for you. You're getting paid to do a different function, and you're being paid now to start actively pursuing your career. It's a big state change that you're going to go through. So what happens maybe after 2, 3, 4 or 5 years, you get a lot more mature. Your interests change. Alongside of that, your lifestyle starts to change as well. It's a fact. We all get a year older each year. We can't hide that. So how do you then take that mentality and start preparing the classroom for what's about to come, short term and long term? So continuing on this heartbeat moment, after 5 years in a certain industry or a focus, again, your interests will change and the cycle then repeats itself. Maybe you're not happy in your current employment. Maybe you feel that you could be doing more. So in that case, you may want to go start your own company. You may want to go back into education, or you may just simply start looking for another job. So where this is going to is the fact that if you've done a theoretical study, some of the key skills that you're going to be needing are how are you going to be communicating with colleagues and peers in your industry. So we're going to have a look at that in a little bit, but for now we're going to look at what it looks like and when the skills that you need in order to apply for the job. So as mentioned earlier, there are 3 key elements. There's the job, there's the boss, and there's the company fit. Now it doesn't matter if you've got an A in computer programming. I personally studied many ancient programming skills. And as I mentioned earlier, the skills that I'm applying now are totally different. Being able to communicate, being able to sit quite literally in front of a camera being filmed is a totally different skill set than sitting behind my desk programming a line of code versus speaking to one of the largest IT companies in the world talking about the skill sets that they're going to be needing for the future. Different skill sets. I was not taught in the classroom how to do that, but yet somehow you need to be prepared for what that future looks like. So how do you go about doing that is one of the key skills that you're going to be needing. And this is why a job description is a temporary bit of paper. It's a temporary need. So starting off, the key skills you're going to have to need and teach in the classroom are reading these job descriptions. What do they mean for you as an individual? When you've got an understanding of a certain job description, maybe you are applying as an entry-level Java programmer in a company. You know the theory, but you sort of lack the industry experience. So then it's really important to understand what's the culture of the company that you're going to be working with. Is it a noisy environment? Is it a quiet environment? Are they a global company? Are they a local company? Who are the people that are currently working there? How long have they been working there? I can appreciate some people are very deep thinkers. So when you think, is a noisy environment something for you to work in? It's probably not the ideal environment. So it's being prepared for researching those companies And then the third dimension on that is the manager, the boss as we call it in Randstad. Who will be that person that you're going to be reporting to? Is it going to be a team lead? Is it going to be somebody in a more senior position? How are they like to work with? Not everyone gets on with each other in the job environment these days. So again, who are they? And these are the three important variables that when you look at the skills that you need beyond studying a core STEM discipline, it's being able to interpret those things. And as you'll probably see in the presentation, we've outlined some specific questions that you can be focusing on to prepare for that better in the future. So the three practical tips and advice in order to apply the skills that you need for applying for a job in the STEM industry. Very practically, it's firstly about building up a peer group, a peer network. And this is going beyond colleagues that are currently, or your friends that are currently in the classroom. It's taking it beyond the faculty, it's taking it beyond the university or the higher education establishment. It's really about looking in the industry, who's got the careers that you already want to have. Start identifying those personalities as soon as you can. I mean, do you want to be the next Richard Branson, or do you want to be the next founder of the smart searching company? Have a think about that and figure out what have they done to develop the skills, having studied, and what do they do to go beyond that. The second thing is start to connect with companies that are finding jobs that are matching you. So you can obviously apply to companies directly. Something, again, I did very early when I was studying is already in my first year, I started to write to companies to say, this is who I am, but that's irrelevant. These are the sorts of jobs that I'm looking for in the future. If I were to apply for you, what steps would I need to take and when would I need to take them? That was it. And you'd be surprised at how many companies write back saying, thank you, don't speak to us until you've graduated, versus the ones that say, thank you, we're genuinely interested in who you are, let's keep in contact. So encourage the students to take those communication skills further. And the third one I think is really important. As you may see within your classroom, I think students these days are very well active on social networking, mostly for friends, for family, just to have some fun and some games. But it's also very important to start letting STEM students know what they do online and offline is actually the future CV that they're going to be building. Companies like Randstad, we invest heavily in infrastructure to search what's going on the online world. Who's speaking, who's blogging, who's tweeting, who's on Facebook, who's on LinkedIn. And we will build up a profile of the sort of character that you are. How are you communicating, the words that you're using, so that when a company comes to us and says, we need somebody who's got a very good background in, for example, marketing and communication skills, well then, guess what? Who's been tweeting the most and the most relevant insights probably stands a higher chance than somebody who's just been very good theoretically at studying and reading the material in that background. So those would be the three, let's say, words of wisdom. If you look at applying and getting the right skills beyond the STEM, the core of the STEM foundation, please encourage the students to go further, build a network. Having built the network, already start the process of exploring the careers that are out there and who makes the match between the job, the career, the boss, and all those variables there. And lastly, keep in mind that what you do online is your future CV. Thank you.